I always thought about like what I would do if I saw George Floyd getting choked out and I had superpowers. Right? If I had
this is going somewhere.
Damn, okay.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I got my guy. Literally, I just got introduced to this guy. His name is Tyler Martin. My guy Brandon, which you guys know, Brandon Lamar, always jumping in on the show. He was like, you gotta meet this guy. He does comic books, but they're like black comic books. So that was like, I was like, oh, I gotta have him on the show. You know what I'm saying? So he was telling me about himself, and I was like, don't even tell me yet. Let's just jump on a podcast. Right. So we got him here on the podcast right now. We're going to learn more about him. His company is called GodHood.
GodHood Comics.
GodHood Comics. And when I saw the comics, we're going to show you guys, like, show them on the screen and everything through the B-roll. But I was like, oh, yeah, this is dope. People need to know about this. And it's super niche down. That's what I like about it. Because when you have a brand that's niche down, it's easy to, like, target that customer.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, bro. Target audience, especially for what I do. I mean, like you can attest, it's, like, super important for growth. So.
Exactly. So my question would be, first of all, how did you come up with GodHood? Because I love the name already. You know what I'm saying? GodHood Comics.
So first of all, I love answering this question, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'm a storyteller. I'm a writer, right?
Right.
And so super, was into Greek mythology growing up, right? And Egyptian mythology, and you had all these demigods, right? Mm-hmm. Hercules, Perseus, and in order to like kind of get into Olympus, right, they had to do all of these labors, right? They had to complete these hard tasks, right? Mm-hmm. And so once they did that, they were able to retrieve their godhood, and then they could step into heaven, right? So for me, when you're walking to your godhood, it's when you're the best form of yourself. Like it's when a man is, or a person, a man or woman is closest to God, right? And so you can kind of walk into your own Olympus or your own paradise, right?
I like that.
So I was like, GodHood Comics. That's what it's about. It's about it's being the best version of your own individual self.
Dope. See, I was thinking it was on some like God in the hood and some black stuff, but I was like, I like yours better. You know what I'm saying? So, Brandon, let us know how like you guys kind of met real quick since you bringing them in on the show.
So, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and this is back in 2019. So pre-COVID, when we were in a different age, way back in the day.
Time has changed so much.
Yeah, it really has. That's a whole discussion in itself.
Right.
Another video. But we met at my job, our job, and I used to teach 8th grade back in North Carolina, High Point. 336 stand up.
Yeah.
And I didn't even last a full year, but teaching is it's in me. I'm a teacher by nature, and so when I met him, you were in the school system. Like
I was teaching.
Yeah, he was teaching. And he was just telling me like, yo, you got to go back, like you got to start teaching again. And whenever I heard that phrase, like I feel like something deep down in me knew that like he wasn't necessarily referring to the classroom, even if like I believe our soul sometimes like speaks for us, right. and I really feel like that's what I was getting from that. And so it's weird, like it's like it felt like we knew each other, or like in another life or something, or I don't know, you know what I'm saying? You know how sometimes you just meet somebody and you just know,
right?
And so we just connected, and then we'd have conversations about the universe, and then he started telling me about the Force.
Was he even in the comments then? Like, were you already doing comics?
Yeah. I've been doing this since like 2015, bro.
Okay.
I recently started taking it much more seriously in 2017.
Yeah.
Like even outside of my stuff, man, I'm a huge nerd.
Okay.
And to what Brandon was about to say, huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tatted on me.
For real? Okay.
I used to speak in like Star Wars evolution. They apply it to life in general. And I even told him when I walked in here in the warehouse, I was like, bro, the Force is strong, right? So,
True.
So that used to be the epitome of our conversations, bro.
Dope.
Yeah.
So I guess let the people know, like in a nutshell, just your story, and we'll just feed off of that in a sense, because like really to me what's so cool about, you know, the Antagonist, your comic, is you don't really see that many black people in comic books. You know what I'm saying? Like I see sometimes like some of them at like the Comic-Con, you know, downtown in Atlanta and stuff, but to really see this in the way you did it, you know what I'm saying, to where it's even like it's cultural, you know what I'm saying?
It's cultural.
That's
like
what
the
I like
word.
about it. Yeah.
Absolutely, bro. And to piggyback off you, you know, we've got black characters in comic books, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have your Static Shock, your Cyborg.
But we just
your
know Black Panther because of a few years ago.
Right. You have all of these black heroes in comics, but the money made from those books go back into the white pocket, right? Those comic book characters are owned by Marvel Comics and DC Comics, right? And so they have the rights to those characters. And so I've always been a fan of comic books.
Right.
Man, it's crazy because when I used to watch these shows and I started drawing comics, I opened up my portfolio that I had since I was in like middle school, and all the characters I used to draw were white.
Yeah. And you just had a reflection when you look back on that. Yeah.
Had a reflection. I looked on back. I was like, why was I drawing all of these white characters?
Yeah.
And it's because that's what we saw in society,
Damn,
right?
that's deep.
We grew up, our favorite cartoon, you're not going to, if I ask you what your favorite cartoon is, 95% of it, it's not going to be a black cartoon.
Right.
Like it's
Spider-Man, Batman,
Right.
the Hulk.
Absolutely.
You know,
So we were conditioned to see.
grain diversity.
We were conditioned to see our heroes
Yeah.
as white men.
Right.
Right? And that was me as a kid.
I never even thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, I discovered this online community. Like, you just said there's not a lot of black characters in comics. There is.
Yeah.
Right? It's this underground, struggling, black independent comic book community. And I discovered it on Facebook.
What's it called so the people who are into it can...
Well, it's just like independent comics. Like,
Okay.
It's not a specific name, but they're one of the groups. One of the groups that I joined was called Black Comic Creators, which changed my life. Right? You go to this group on Facebook, like 39K are in there, and it's people like me who have created these characters that people need to see. And only in the last 10 years, bro, has it really started to boom. And what I did with GodHood, I just, like you said, captured that niche and dominated it. Completely
Just dominated it.
Absolutely,
Okay.
man.
Let them know a little bit like where you are now when you say dominated it.
So, GodHood Comics is actually one of the largest black-owned comic book publishing companies in the world, in the entire world. I'm like at number 2.
And he's sitting right here.
Okay,
I just want you guys to see
hey,
that. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
in the presence.
and not even like no exaggeration. Like we
Yeah.
are number 2 in sales and everything. And you know, we say our slogan is original, new, and necessary. Right, so it's original content, it's new content, but more importantly than the other two, it's necessary.
Right.
We are showing the black plight through comic books. Right. And furthermore, bro, you go to the movie, you turn on a streaming service, you turn on your TV, you can't get away from the impact comic books have on pop culture.
Right.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like it's always been like that too.
Always.
Just the
Always.
ingredient of it. Yeah.
But comic books, ironically, comic books have taken a back seat. Sales
They have.
dropped 20 years ago, right? And now
It's probably the paper part of it, just like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, I think a lot of people flocked to me, and I got a lot of like, when I was growing up, bro, and everybody was doing sports and you know, I played football, blah, but everybody was doing all this stuff and listening to rap and doing this. I was there, bro.
Yeah.
16, 15, 14, reading comic books.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was never conforming to what I saw in middle school and high school, and people loved that about me.
Right.
Like I was myself, and I was the comic book guy, you know?
Yeah.
And when it got popular, right, 2008, Marvel Comics, MCU, Iron Man, they really started taking off, and I was the guy that was like, this guy.
Because there was a point when like Marvel just started doing a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
And that's when it just changed. It was almost like we knew Marvel from like comic books like he's talking
Yeah.
about. But do you remember, Brandon, like when they took off and it's like movie, box office?
2008.
That was it?
Yeah,
2008?
because I remember, like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm like a novice and I don't have much background knowledge when it comes to comics. So like right around, like you said, like that 2007, I remember Iron Man was the first one, right? Yeah, I remember like it's crazy because even in the midst of this conversation, I had to remind myself like the biggest movie in the world right now, Batman, is a comic. You know, and it's crazy to think about.
Talking about like before 2008 when Marvel took over. I didn't know if they got a huge funding deal or whatever. It was literally just comic books, but then it turned to movies.
Yeah,
and
that is true.
About the comics,
that is true. Yeah, because it's like it's almost as if like the movies have started this new like.
And that's
dimension.
Probably why the actual books sales dropped. You know what I'm saying? So, and it became like one of those like really industry specific niche things where it's like nostalgic in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So with that success and from 2008, that's when the sales actually started to shift.
Yeah.
Right? Where they started to rise and rise and rise. And you mentioned earlier what Black Panther did for people like me.
Yeah.
Right?
And let me just throw that question in for the people. Pretty much what I had asked them was like, what did the Black Panther movie do for Black people in the comic book space? So,
bro, completely opened the doors.
Yeah.
Took off the seatbelt and brought us to a level of opportunity. A lot of people, you know, don't know there are Black independent comics, right? We're going to conventions, we're writing, creating, we're managing teams, right? It takes about $7,000 to produce one comic book if you do it the right way.
Dang.
One book.
Break it down. Why?
It's manual labor, right? So you're paying every person per page, every level per page,
because they're drawing it all out.
Right. So you have a penciler, right? And so your penciler, he does the pencils and he does the inks. Well, or you can have those are two different people. And they all have different page rates, right? So your penciler can charge you $50 to $100 per page.
Yeah.
Well, times 24.
Yeah.
Right? Which is the standard page in a comic book.
Yeah.
Then the inker, he said the inker's going to charge you $20 to $30 per page.
The color it all in and everything.
To just ink it, to add some black lines. Yeah.
Oh, that's just the black lines.
Oh,
the black lines.
I thought that's what the first guy
Excuse
was.
me.
No, just the black lines. Then you go to your colorist.
So what's the penciler do?
The penciler's just going to draw it with pencil.
Oh, this is so interesting.
So the black lines is the defining.
Yeah, the inker just goes over those pencils and defines it, the shadowing and all that
And how much is his rate usually?
He could be anywhere from 30 to 40.
And he's tracing pretty much?
Yeah, he's just tracing.
Skill tracing. We don't want them hating.
Skill tracing.
Skill tracing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they finna cancel your ass.
Right.
You say we don't need inkers?
Right.
Yeah, but no, skill, like you have to be a professional inker to ink a comic book.
Yeah.
And then the colorist, that's when you really pop off. The guy who brings the colors, and he's going to charge you maybe 60 to 80 per page.
And that's crazy because now we're at, like you said, $7,000 for one book, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's the business model to get that, to recoup that investment, especially when you're independent and you're starting, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So the good thing about comic books and books in general, you'll be selling them forever, right? There's never a cap. So let's say,
and they don't really die out. Like it's not like a movie, like a show or anything.
And so let's say for issue 1 of the Antagonist, there'll always be somebody discovering issue 1 of the Antagonist, right?
Got you.
For the next 40 years, there'll be someone who hasn't read it, and they go back and discover it, and they go back and get it. So you're selling these books.
It's a digital. Well, not digital, but it's an asset in a sense because it's made, it's created,
it's created, and so you're continuing moving. So you'll surpass your $7,000.
Yeah,
like I've made the $7,000 back 5-6 times over.
Right, little flex.
Yeah,
I mean,
we can no, just in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's
generally
a
speaking,
it's a lengthy process, bro. It's hard work. It's why a lot.
How
of people
long
don't do
does it take to make a comic book?
One book can take anywhere from 2 to 4 months.
2 to 4, and that's moving.
That's from I always call it concept to coin, right? So from when it comes from my mind until when I made a sale on the website.
Got you.
So concept to coin for 4 months.
Got you.
I like that.
Do they have like computer softwares that make it a lot easier now?
So they're not when we say penciler, they're not like drawing with pencil, right?
Yeah.
They're on like a
Got you.
Who had thought they were?
Right.
They're on like a lot of people think they're just like he got a pencil.
I'm like, man, this nigga take his job
But
seriously.
back in the day though, that's what they was doing,
Absolutely,
right?
bro.
Okay.
Absolutely. Old Marvel DC artist Stan Lee. I mean, not Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee's partner. That's all they were doing, bro. But now they have iPads and Wacom's computers, and they're doing everything is online.
Got you. Okay.
This
and
is
then
so cool.
one thing, from going from like my e-commerce mindset or whatever to like what I'm hearing about this is when you said that everyone's, there's gonna be someone new always finding episode 1. I mean, what's it called? Not episode. Issue 1 of the Antagonist. It seems like you can build that cult following, because I know in e-commerce what's big for me is like literally my email list. Like, of course, I'm always running ads, but that's paid, But that email list, it's just the fact of like, when I blast out a new hoodie, a new hat, like they're buying it. You know what I'm saying? So building that community around your brand's got to be super important, especially in this field.
Man, absolutely. You just hit the head on the nail, bro. I have an email list on our website, right? And so blasting it out every time there's a new character, or just in general, and I feel like at least twice a week, bro. But yeah, it is about the clientele base, right? And building the brand. So much of what I do and how I can be successful at it is our marketing, and like you said, our ad campaigns and things like that. Because a lot of people don't know that we exist.
Yeah.
Like, and that's as a business owner, that's like one of the important things. Like, how do I get people to know we exist?
Right.
Our brands are so good.
Yeah.
Once they know we exist, then we're good.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely, man, making sure that we are straight to consumer, that they have access to us, that there's quality, and it's authenticity to the brand. So important, bro.
How much does a comic book cost?
So the average, so here's where it gets trickier, right?
Okay.
And to all my comic book creators out there, we teach a class called the GodHood Schoolhouse Initiative, where we do Zoom classes. Okay. Yeah, the Schoolhouse Rock. So we teach creators from concept to coin. And a lot of the times I'll go to Atlanta Comic Con, bro. I'll go to the conventions, and I see, at our booth there's so many lines, right? And the guys around me, they're struggling to kind of make a sale.
Yeah.
And they're selling their books for $2.
Yeah.
Right? They're selling their books for $2, which, by the way, is the standard price of a comic book.
Okay.
Right? Marvel and DC, they're going to charge $2 to $3 for their comic books. The difference between me and Marvel is Marvel and DC have millions of books out there.
Yeah, they're bulk. They're printing.
They can
crazy amount of copies.
Yeah, not even the copies, just the individual titles, right?
Oh yeah.
So they can put a $2 price point on and make a profit.
Yeah.
But someone like me, I only have 7 titles, right?
Yeah.
I'm not selling my hard work. Just told you I put $7K into this. I'm not selling it for $2.
Right.
So
I feel that.
We have our brand is higher quality, right?
Yeah.
And
it feels special too. You know what I'm saying?
It feels special.
Pass me one.
It feels special, and
y'all see it.
Yeah. I ain't want to
show to that camera. Yeah.
You know what we on? You see?
Antagonist.
Come on, if you could feel this.
Yeah.
Come on now.
It's I always hate the thing where, like, first of all, we pay for what we want. People will pay for anything.
They will.
At any price.
Right.
There's no such thing. And I think a lot of Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs, they underprice and undervalue themselves, bro. And that hurts them in the long run, right?
Well, I'm about to say this. This is my quote that I keep saying. We either work off of inspiration or desperation. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, when you say we're underpricing stuff, it's because it's like, I need this money now. So I'm going to exploit my brand and my hard work versus the value that it's really for.
Absolutely.
So,
bro, that...
Yeah. This is
first of all, we love fucking quotes.
For real. Yeah, I
do. We love powerful quotes. You can put that on the thing.
Quote of the day.
Bro, absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned in the industry, right? And so what I saw, and which is why I was able to grow so fast, man. I built this thing in like 2.5 years, man.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the TV show. How that happened.
Little flag.
We
gonna get there. They TV show, y'all.
Stay for the whole
podcast.
Run that watch time up.
Yeah, we gonna stay for the whole podcast so y'all can hear everything. My man's got a TV show on the way, all that. Yeah. Look, everybody's like, all right, let me not hit the X button. Let me stay.
They better.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's so to answer your original question, I sell my books for $8.99 to $10.
Okay. Nice.
And so they cost $2 a print. So you see that profit margin.
Yeah. I mean, in our society too, even just like our culture, that $10 is a coveted number. So I don't even think that's bad. I wouldn't even know a comic book costs $2, to be honest. Like if you was like, hey, they 10, bro, I'd be like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what we be banking on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got one that costs $25 on the, so when you do limited editions like this, I can move
with the silver foil and all that type of stuff.
For $50.
Man.
You know, and so
let's break down the whole business model. Cause like on the show, on my channel, I really like to just like talk about like Black excellence, talk about stuff, really educate the people on just a lot of things that they may not even know. Like I didn't know about this as much, but where was your starting point? You know what I'm saying? Cause you was working at Punch Bowl with Brandon, right? Were you really doing the comics thing?
yeah, man. I was I was, like I said, I was teaching. I had done that for 8 years. I was miserable. Very miserable to the point, and you know.
What year is this when you stopped?
This shift? When I stopped, 2019. When I left.
So this is recent growth.
Oh, this is recent growth.
Okay.
First of all, we don't teaching because of the money. That's dead. So I was actually teaching and working at Punch Bowl when I met Brandon.
Gotcha.
I would leave the high school. Try to beat the buses so I won't get caught in traffic to show up for my shift.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Right, and so I was working hard, man. Highly depressed. But a real wake-up call for me when I became suicide. I was having suicidal thoughts. Just completely unhappy, in a void, bro. And I was living in Hiram. And I had walked out on my balcony, and I can talk about this now. I couldn't talk about it a year ago. And walked out on my balcony and was prepared to jump. Right, so you know you had that voice like, yeah, just jump. You know, it's over. You know.
Yeah.
And then the other voice, I believe it was God 100%. I don't care what nobody says. He was like, you know, you can jump, but I'm not gonna let you die. So if you jump, you're just gonna be paralyzed, and it's gonna be worse. Right. So I was thinking like, yeah, of course couldn't even fucking kill myself, right? and so that was a wake up call, man.
Yeah.
And
what do you think it was? Do you think just because you weren't living at your dream?
Absolutely. My favorite quote: "Your passion leads to your purpose, and your purpose leads to profit."
Yep.
I wasn't living in my passion. I was angry. I was bitter. The kids were feeling it. It was time for me to go.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times what I like to say is like, we already have what we need on the inside, you know what I'm saying? But like, we're so used to our American society, American dream, living in this box, right? This box of what family wants us to be and who they want us to be, whatever it is. And it's like, could you imagine putting a bird inside of a box and it could never spread its wings? It would die. And that's literally what's happening to us when we're like captive to our jobs and our employment to impress others, when you can literally just be free and try something. Like, when you really think about it, you were almost about to give your life up because you were doing what you thought you were supposed to do versus what you wanted to do.
Absolutely. And just didn't... Bro, making money from comics was just the last. If you would have told me that I would be doing this a year ago, or 2 years ago, rather, I would fucking laughed at you.
Yeah.
Because it was, you know, I stopped paying rent at that same house when I first started taking this seriously. I stopped paying rent. I stopped paying my rent and stopped paying my car note and put it all into the company.
Sacrifice.
Yeah. So I walked out one day.
So is that, okay, so for my part, when you walked out on that balcony, and then you heard
after they took the car, by the way.
Okay. And you heard God's voice. Is that when it switched? When it was like, I got to start making these comments, do what I want to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we're there.
That was the wake up call.
And then how did it start from there? Well, did you pick up a pen? What happened?
So I was always, man, I remember and I had discovered that community I talked about a year prior to this.
Gotcha.
So I was dibbling, dabbling, making connections.
The seed was planted.
The seed was already planted.
Yeah.
Making connections, making myself known, getting characters drawn up, things like that, man. I was putting all of my checks, like I was getting paid monthly, and every check would go into the company, right? And also that when I was on that balcony, my water and lights was off too. So that all of that added to the depression.
Right.
And man, I used to be in the school and I used to be writing the scripts. I'll be writing because I write. I'm like Stan Lee, you know. I write the stuff and be writing scripts, man. And next thing I know, I had like 14 scripts piled up. Right. So I got into that community, got me an artist. Boom. We pumped out our first book. Took me a year to pump out that first book. Yeah. Remember I said it's supposed to take 4 months. Took me a year to do it just because I was paying out of pocket.
Right. So then for someone in the comic book industry, because even with clothes, I think about this all the time. Like, a lot of people come to me and they're just like, oh, Tony, I'm trying to get my clothes off the ground, this and that. So I can get you the inventory, you know what I'm saying? We can make it. But you still got to figure out how to sell it. So how did you get to selling once you got your first comic book? You had made your investment, but
so comic book conventions are huge.
got you.
Are huge, and this was pre-COVID, right? I
Yeah.
haven't been to one
And
since
what
then.
are they? Because I just heard of Comic-Con.
So they're just like Comic-Con, but they
Okay.
happen all over the world, right?
Got you.
And all over the United States at a lower level.
Yeah.
But you have the big ones, Comic-Con. You have New York City Comic-Con.
Okay.
Where it's so much opportunity.
Right.
Producers are there scouring to get adaptions. You have the fans and everything like that. And so I went to my first one, man, and I went to Dragon Con in Atlanta.
Is that the one where they got the costumes on and all that stuff?
Well, they got costumes on at all.
All of them? Okay.
All of them, yeah.
Cool.
And I went to my first convention, man. And I had printed out a poster of one of my characters, right? And this is what we talked about, the grind, right? Selling CDs out of the back of your car type of grind.
Yeah.
We're living in an age where everybody wants it like that.
Right then.
They want it right then. They don't want to work for it. And I remember I was lame as hell walking around that convention, and I had no money to buy anything.
Yeah.
I remember my mom dropped me off. I had no money to buy anything, but I'm walking around with this poster, just showing professional artists and showing fans what I have coming. Right, and now it's fucking. That was probably like 4 years ago, man. And,
Yes.
And now those, we got people that are coming to me like that.
Yeah.
So it's a transition, but it's been a hustle, man. It's been hard. It's been hard.
So what is it like building an online community though? Because do you use Shopify or something?
I'm on GoDaddy.
GoDaddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Anytime you can put something of value in people, like I always say, if one person read my book, I would be pleased. Right?
Got you.
Anytime you put something out of quality, I'm so big on quality, bro.
Yeah.
I'm so big on quality. If I wasn't, I know guys out there, they're pumping out, they got maybe 20 titles.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't have the following that I have.
Right.
Right? And their art isn't as good and their story isn't. So I'm all about
And when you
quality.
say title, that's like that 7K you put in a book. That's a title, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a title is a series. So, and the Antagonist is one title, right?
Okay.
Now I have 3 Antagonist books, but it's still one title.
Got you.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Right. And so when you
Would it be like a series?
yeah, it's a series.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, a series. That's what I should say.
You know.
series.
Okay.
Regular people
I mean,
breaking
I
it
mean,
down.
you know,
Yeah.
Comic talk.
You know.
You know.
Yeah, a series. Yeah.
Got you.
That's
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. So do be having 20 series? Like 20 different well, I mean, if I look at Marvel, they had
Yeah.
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 And then within that means there's multiple comic books in
yeah.
that series, which makes that one title. So there could be 5. You could have one title, you could have 5 to 7 series. So that's a lot of comic books.
Absolutely. So you
Yeah.
guys heard about Invincible on Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
All right. So Invincible is
I haven't yet.
okay. Amazing book, came out in the early 2000s mid 2000s by Robert Kirkman who did The Walking Dead and and an artist named Ryan Otley. Invincible has like 300 plus issues. 300 plus issues, right? And it's one title. So
Now it's making sense. For sure.
it's the comic books are the gift to keep on giving, bro.
So where's the space going? Like, is it moving to digital, or are they really into having the actual comic book?
Yeah.
Like
I do the least of my sales are digital.
The least they want the book.
They want the book.
I would too, though.
They want
Yeah.
And we offer the digital where
Yeah.
you can get it, and we do pretty good there. But my clientele, my audience,
Because the PDF ain't really that hot. You know
It's
what I'm
not.
saying? Or the
It's
flipping
not.
book
And
online.
this is
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
hot.
read a Kindle book, bro. I can't. I
can't
I
either. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got ADHD. I can't sit
It's
down.
either
Yeah.
got to be audio book or the book.
Yeah,
you know
'cause
what I mean? In
I-
comic book, you can't do the audio.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need the
Here we
pictures.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the penciler gonna be mad. You know.
Oh, yeah.
You cutting him out when you get to the audio
Nah,
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's like experience too.
Yeah.
I'm offering an experience, bro.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I got your first issue back in 2020, late 2020, signed. You know, it's like if I had received that digitally, it just
It's in your email, you might miss it. You know what I mean?
Comics is one of the few things left that you need the physical carbon based
Right.
manifestation of it. Yeah, instead of digital.
Yeah, and there's a lot of goods out there that we need that would never be digital.
What's the black industry like? Is it very inviting and everybody's like working together? That's what I want to know.
So far, I'm so lucky, bro, because my
Yeah.
supporters, and I want to give some of these guys that are coming up, and they're my equals, shout outs too. So far, my experience has been super positive, except for this other company. But you know,
Name drop.
I feel like it's always crab in a barrel mentality. You know, when not even in black businesses, but just in general.
Yeah, in general,
we're humans. We're fucked up. But my experience has been amazing, man. There's some guys out there that are what we're doing for this culture and this community, man, is going to be indescribable in the next 5 years.
So how do you grow in this industry? Like, what is the growth scale? How do you get on? What's the, what is it? You get picked up by an agent or something? How's it work?
No, so GodHood Comics, first and foremost, GodHood Comics is a publishing company, right? So we publish, and publishing is only just a fancy word for promotion. That's all publishing is. You got your IBN number, you got your barcode, and from there you just promote it. You promote it. You go to stores and things like that. And we're not even in stores yet, bro.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to work on a plan. Yeah, I'm not even in any stores. I have comic book stores. They always reach out to me. They want to carry the book, but we're not ready. I'm not ready for that yet. Yeah. And that's called distribution. Major distribution.
Because if you scale too fast, it can not be good.
Oh yeah. And then again, we talked about exclusivity and quality, and you need to come to me. You want it, you need to come to me.
Right.
But man, my experience with the community.
I like that. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's dope. So what about now that pivoting towards the TV show? Like, what is that? Because you spoke to me a little bit about, I was like, let's save everything for the people. Yeah. Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
So what we've seen in the past decade since the Marvel, Iron Man 2008 is producers in Hollywood are flocking to comic book stores and comic book conventions to find original IP. Right, original intellectual property.
Getting ideas for their movies and stuff.
Getting ideas. They want to adapt these comic books into movies. They love this stuff, man. Producers eat this stuff up. And when I was creating the Antagonist with my co-creator Felipe Dunbar, I was sitting down and I was I knew I wanted to go that route one day. Obviously, it would be a dream come true to see your things adapted. There's shows and movies out there that come from comic books that y'all wouldn't even know were comics, right? So Jim Carrey in The Mask. That was a comic book first.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, okay.
Men in Black. That was a comic book first.
Didn't know that.
Right. A lot of people don't. Right. V for Vendetta. that was a comic book first, and so many more. Damn. And so when I created the Antagonist, man, we did a $25,000 Kickstarter. Right. So I put the art out there. People was loving the idea, and just so you guys are wondering, the Antagonist is about a retired couple of supervillains. Right. Tanya, Calvin, Ebel, they used to be supervillains, but she got pregnant, and so they retired, and 20 years later, they are raising a wholesome family, right? And so that concept hasn't been done before at all. Super original. And like you said earlier, I made characters look like certain actors and things like that, strategically just put it out there. And man, we had so many big name producers was hitting me up. Like, this was before the book even came out.
Okay, name drop.
What's some of the difficult things you go through though, just in this business industry?
You can't please everybody.
Okay.
I can't lie. I struck gold with this title. I fish for bad reviews and bad just so I can get better. And with this particular title, people really love this title, but they demand more from you and from it. And just being solid in my writing and what I want to portray and what I want to get across. The Antagonist's underlining issue is how black people have always been villainized in America, right? And always will be. But these two just kind of had the power to say, okay, yeah, we're the villains, right? You can't do anything about it, okay? Right? I always thought about like what I would do if I saw George Floyd getting choked out and I had superpowers, right? If I had
this is going somewhere.
Damn, okay.
If you had the power of Superman and you're on that street and you're seeing this happen to George Floyd, would you intervene or would you not? Now, if you intervene, Derek Chauvin is a cop. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's the law. you intervene, that's illegal.
Right. It's getting there.
So the Antagonist is a book about is subjective.
Yeah.
What makes
wake up time.
Yeah, that
what's good and what's evil and no matter what we do, bro, no matter what black people do, you can be a black heart surgeon. No matter what you do, we're always subject to villainy in our society, and that's all the Antagonist is about. Two people who said, "Listen, if it means getting stuff done for our people, we'll take the label."
I love that. I love that.
Okay.
Okay. Say something, Brandon. What you thinking?
That honestly, when you were saying that, I love Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and I've really studied probably like at least 15 of his speeches after his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, because that was on August 28th, 1964, which was a little less than 4 years before he got assassinated. And it's funny because he speaks a lot on civil disobedience, because, you know, he, as a Christian, he always speaks on Jesus. And if you think about the concept of Jesus, he was really civilly disobedient. And so when you were speaking on that, and that question of, I think that's a question that every Black American should ask themselves, just honestly, just to get the mind going of like, if you had superpowers, let's say the powers of Superman, like you said, and you were sitting there witnessing George Floyd be choked out by, like you said, the societal good guy, what would you do? Do you now break the law and have that stigma of a criminal, or do you stand up for what's right, use your powers which were given to you? Because like I said at the beginning of this conversation, I believe everything happens for a reason. What would you do? That is one of the deep, like
This is what literally like what I love about it, because I didn't even know what the Antagonist meant. So I'm glad you brought that question in. This is literally what Black kids need to be reading. You know what I'm saying? Because in my last podcast, my friend Kiera Turner was on here, and we were talking about Black history. And she had brought up a point where she was saying, and it was kind of controversial in a sense, where she was like, I don't really like Black History Month, right? So I'm not going to tell people don't like Black History Month, because we should. But her point in her context of what she meant by it was, she was like, think about the kid in school, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I remember I went to all white school, so Black History Month used to be slightly difficult for me, because I was like, it's a month where I'm the focus in the sense of like
4 weeks.
4 weeks,
28
right?
days.
To where it was like, oh, slave, and you know, all the kids kind of like, is Tony cool? Let's looking back there, seeing how I'm feeling, how I'm listening, and I'm just like, you know, trying to act cool.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. So I'm thinking what she means by this, because she was like, it's psychological, right? So she was like, if all of our young Black kids are only being taught that like slaves, you know what I'm saying, you were beat, blah blah blah, and yes, that's a rich part of our history that can't be forgotten, but you're not even telling the part about like in Egypt and stuff where we were kings and queens, and they never talk about that. Like, I didn't learn about what's the Egyptian kings and stuff, you know.
Mansa Musa?
All of them, yeah.
Well, he wasn't Egyptian, but
yeah.
Well, you know, the woke community is coming for my ass.
Right. But wait. But you see what I'm saying? Like,
tips.
Right.
Yeah.
We're never taught about that. You know what I'm saying? We're never really taught about all the other things. It's literally psychological, to where a young Black kid, if he doesn't have enough confidence and encouragement at the house, to where he's just thinking like, I'm supposed to be inferior. You know what I'm saying? He's not seeing what's in the Antagonist and saying, hey, I'm a superhero. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I can change the world.
Absolutely.
He's not seeing that at all. So that's where that comic book right there is amazing
which
to me.
goes back to what I was saying when I was in middle school and I'm drawing these white characters.
Yeah.
Because I've been conditioned to think that white men are the superheroes.
Exactly.
Right? And that, you know, and then when we do have those Black characters, they were always side characters or had canceled titles. Absolutely, bro. And so that's what GodHood does. First of all, every book we have is going to have a Black, brown, indigenous lead, right? So Black, South American, indigenous, Native American lead. Like there's no GodHood comic titles that will be will have any white leads or white main characters.
Okay.
It's all black content.
And see, this is the thing too that I wanted to bring up also is like a lot of times people, you know, especially of like a different race or whatever, they think like, oh, that's so racist. That's this and that. But no, it's not. It's just like, if you're of a different race and you're listening to this right now, we're not being racist. We're just putting ourselves in the forefront, like, which is what y'all have been doing forever. You see what I'm saying? But we need our children, our kids, our people, even ourselves to see ourselves in a better light, a stronger light, that we are more powerful, that we can do things. You know what I'm saying? So that's where this comes from. It's not racist. You know what I'm saying? This is just our story.
Absolutely. And I got that comment once before, and I shut it down. I addressed it on my Twitter and never had it again.
Yeah.
And the question was, well, why is this not racist? I said, talk to me in 100 years when black-centered content has caught up with white content since the entertainment industry was founded. Right? So you're talking about early 1800s, right? When all the movies, all the shows, all of the radio, right, was a bunch of white-oriented content. We're only looking at the last maybe 20 years that we've really started to see black-focused content.
You can really honestly go last 7 to 10 years.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think what's crazy to me, like the hat you got on, right? So make sure y'all shop at
Drop it on there and go ahead and shop.
But the reason why I came up with that, like, we are the culture, was because everywhere I looked, it was just crazy to see how much of black culture is everything. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, when you said the last 7 to 10 years, like, you know, I'm 31, right? I remember when we was all in high school and stuff, when it was at the point where it was like, oh, I don't dress like that. Oh, I don't do that. But now what's so crazy is when I go to like these new age churches and then they're heavily Caucasian and I'm seeing all the Jordan 1s, all the beanies. So it's like when I remember like my parents being like, don't wear that. You know what I'm saying? And I remember just the stigma of coming from an all-white city in Knoxville, Tennessee, feeling like a thug just because I wanted to wear clothes that was my culture.
Absolutely.
But now, when the church does it, they're eating it up. You know what I'm saying?
Greg and his blazer and Jordan 1s, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and even these high-end fashion shows. You know, I was watching the Batman in theaters, and something that came up. One of the trailers that came up was for an Elvis movie. That's coming up, right? And so, you know, Elvis stole a lot of his songs uncredited from black musicians and black audio engineers and things like that. And so, to your point, so much of our culture is grounded and built on American society in every field, bro. Every field.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up the because I just went blank. The black country singer who was doing the duck walk. Because Elvis and them took all his stuff.
Yep.
It's crazy. Like, to kind of go back to like the antagonist thing. I really like that embracing, and just like how I just always think about how my dad tells me. It's just funny how society can paint a picture of what is right and what is wrong. Because kind of going back to even before that, like the George Floyd thing, when you were saying like
Chuck
you
Berry.
know. Nice. When you're saying like, you know, the cop, Chauvin, he's like the societal good guy. And it's like, my dad used to always tell me this story, and it used to blow my mind. It still does to this day. He'd be like, you know, when he was a kid, they would watch Cowboys and Indians, you know, and the Cowboys are the good guys, the Indians, bad guys. And he said, you know, he grew up to realize, motherfucker, we the Indians.
My land.
Right. Like, we're the Indians. Like, you know what I'm saying? Literally. And then you just grow up with this subconscious, not even realizing like hate for yourself, and it's so subtle. And so that's why I like to see this and like hear you break it down like that. That
man, it's like it's only people in power who determine what's good and what's wrong. Right. People in power make the laws. They'll tell us what we need to do and what we don't need to do. So now that you have these two individuals, black individuals, who are even more powerful than that power.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, you can't tell us that.
Yeah.
You know? And what we see in the book man, these guys, they get the military thrown out and they just can't be stopped.
Right.
The only reason why they stopped is because she got pregnant. They, they had a family, and they kind of address, where they go from there. But yeah, and plus it's kind of an understatement that, the black couple is the most powerful force in the world. But yeah, man.
Yeah. So what's your process when you start making a comic and writing and all that type of stuff?
So I just started. I just started I have to be in silence.
Yeah.
I have to be in silence, and it's crazy. I'm sure as a designer, this stuff is going in your head 1,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose thoughts, and so what I do is now I've got a huge book. Huge binder where I just write in throughout the day.
Yeah.
Or if I don't have it, then I'll put the notes on my phone. Then I get home, outline, type everything in, and then formulate a story from there, man. I probably write. Right now I'm working 16 hours a day. I haven't wrote a lot because the business is kind of you know how much it takes of you. But I used to write, man. I used to write 10 hours a day, bro.
Do you feel like now, since your business is growing so fast, it's kind of taking you out of the creative role to the CEO side, and it's dang, I'm trying to,
Yep. And so I had a meeting with my investors, and I had to tell them, I'm getting ready to bring more people in, so I can get back to the creative side.
Are you the main creative though? Without you, there's no Antagonist. There's no
Without me, there's no Antagonist. No GodHood Comics. Another thing that we're really doing is looking for new black creatives. Yeah. Right. New black artists and writers, and so we're opening up our submissions in May, where these guys will be able to bring on 100% creator owned. They'll be able to bring their title, their series, onto the GodHood Comics family.
Got you.
Into the
That's
GodHood.
dope.
GodHood verse is what we call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. We're already at 46 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
2,760 seconds.
Hey, math guy.
Jesus. Is that not
right
crazy?
There. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, let them know where they can find you at.
Yeah, guys. So you can find me personally at Tyler the Animator on Instagram or Ty the Animator on Twitter.
Okay.
You can follow GodHood Comics on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and you can get the Antagonist and our other titles, Mega Woman, Sharpshooter, Galactic Patrol Delta, at www.godhoodcomics.com. The Antagonist will be on a streaming service near you in the next
So it'll be kind of audible.
years.
You know what? I heard it was a comic book audio podcast. It was on the podcast, on the Apple Podcast. And I'm not going to lie, it was actually very intriguing. You see what I'm saying? Because I was thinking once you take the imagery out of it, was the same, but it was actually I was riding in the car, but I'm really getting to the story listening to it. So that's actually pretty dope too.
Yeah, bro. It's a storytelling medium first.
Yeah.
Right? That you can get into the story. So I do believe that can be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love comic books. I can talk comic books for hours.
Break down some of those other titles before we leave. What are they about, their stories?
Boom. So Sharpshooter is about the world's famous athlete and Olympic gold medaling archer. Okay. And he's blinded by a terrorist attack. He loses his pregnant fiance. But he invested in, it's like if LeBron James became a superhero. He invested in a high-tech company, and so they give him these glasses to let him see sound.
That's dope.
And so he picks up his bow and arrow and goes out as the blind archer. Mega Woman is urban culture meet Greek mythology. It's about the last daughter of Zeus. She is destined to destroy the world, so to prevent that, she becomes a superhero here in Atlanta. And then Galactic Patrol Delta is our Star Trek, Star Wars meets urban culture, and you have an Ethiopian female sergeant, and she runs her own squad, her police force. And that book deals with racism, injustice, and police brutality, but on a more galactic scale.
Yeah, it did.
What you gotta say, Brandon, before we wrap it up? You gotta say anything?
Yo, I'm blessed to be here first. You know what I'm saying? Blessed to be here. Arm ain't that long. But man, I'm just excited because, with me starting my podcast, check it out, The Perfect Show. It's like he's one of the first people to really inspire me. You know what I'm saying? So just thankful. You know what I'm saying? Just thankful just to be here and to really see we're at the point where we got special edition comics, and then for your show, here we are We at 50 minutes almost. You know what I'm saying? Just seeing the growth. It's just good to see the growth. And
Black excellence.
yeah. You know.
Who are some of the people you're inspired by in this?
In this industry?
In this industry.
Oh yeah, man! Thank you so much. Let me plug my guys real quick, man. So one of our other Concrete Comics, they're out from Philly, Lonzo Starr, amazing company at concretecomics.com. Inpound Comics from out in Sacramento, Tracy Sands. This guy has his own store now.
Dang.
Been on the news. He's verified. David Walker, Bitter Roots, being adapted into a television show. All my guys' comic books are being adapted to a television show.
That's correct.
David Crowns and Kingwood Comics. He wrote a book called Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, and it's a fictional, historic fictional about Harriet Tubman killing white slave owners and they're actually demons and vampires. It is amazing.
Brandon about to order some of these.
Yeah.
Amazing. And Stranger Comics, man, there's so many of them. But guys, check out Black Comics on Instagram, on Facebook, and you can see all these guys.
Dope. Well, appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. You've been tuned in with your guy Tony. We got my guy Tyler Martin in the building, and as always, Brandon Lamar on the show. We're going to put all the links in the description below. Make sure you shop with this Black comic book. Shop the Antagonists. This is super dope, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man.